Hello, students. It's time for reading with Miss Sophie. Read aloud story time. This one is called Thimbleberry Stories, and it's actually 4 stories in one book. I'm going to do one of the stories each day. So today's is Nigel Meets Dipper. Nigel Chipmunk lived in a cozy little cottage on Thimbleberry Lane. He was quite the homebody. Each morning he breakfasted on dandelion stones and lavender tea. Then he set about his housework. He had painted the house bright blue, and each day gave it a nice scrub inside and out. He had even built himself a tiny gazebo for evening thinking, and of this he was particularly proud. He was a contented young fellow. Nigel had grown up on Thimbleberry Lane and considered it quite the most beautiful place in the world. There were wild red roses growing all along the lane, and daylilies and honeysuckle. And since it lay far out in the countryside, it was ever so quiet and peaceful. The animals who lived beside the lane were all very neighborly, and at night one could even find a little group of them at someone's home, sharing secrets, their laughter making the candlelight flicker in the dark. Life did not change much from day to day on Thimbleberry Lane. But one morning, something did change, and this was lucky for Nigel. He was taking his morning stroll, wearing a bright yellow bowler hat and an indigo scarf, when he heard an unfamiliar voice behind a clutch of foxgloves. Nigel scooped up and cocked his head lightly to one side. And a dash of this and a sprinkle of that, a fluff of the other, said the small voice. Someone must be cooking, thought Nigel, though he could smell nothing delicious in the air. He stepped to the side of the lane and carefully spread apart the foxgloves so he might see the puzzling chef. But a chef he did not see. Instead, to his surprise, Nigel saw a new dwelling on Thimbleberry Lane. It was a tiny, funny little house, and all of it was round. The house was round, the windows were round, the front door was round. Over the door, someone had written the word welcome, but Nigel could not imagine many visitors fitting into such a round miniature place. He himself would never fit. Why, he could not even put his head through the window to look in. From inside the round house floated a voice again. A bit of here, a bit of there, it said. Bits of lovely everywhere. Nigel straightened his hat, cleared his throat, and called out, Hello! Good morning! Anyone about? Quicker than Nigel could blink, a tiny head appeared in one of the windows. Yes, I am about, someone said. Before Nigel could open his mouth to answer, the fellow had disappeared from the window and zipped out the front door. It was a hummingbird. Why, Nigel had not seen a hummingbird on Thimbleberry Lane since he was a youngster. He'd heard they were all living on in the poppy gardens at the governor's mansion. "How do you do?" said Nigel gladly. "How nice to have a hummingbird move in." Oh, pretty. And there's the window, the round windows and the round door and the beautiful hummingbird. "Thank you. I'm Dipper, and as you can see, I am moving in and moving in for good." As he spoke, the little hummingbird moved left to right, back to forth, front to back, right to left so quickly Nigel was nearly made dizzy. He gave his head a shake to clear things up. "My name's Nigel, and I thought you were cooking." Dipper laughed and buzzed left to right. "Oh, no, not cooking. Haven't you noticed the paint all over me?" Nigel blushed. "I'm afraid you move too fast. I hardly see you at all." "Oh, dear," said Dipper cheerfully. Then he hovered in place with his wings humming steadily. "Is that better?" "Much," answered Nigel, enjoying the new breeze. "And now I see what you mean, that you are What are you painting?" "Oh, my, everything. Would you care to come in for tea?" Nigel looked at the tiny round door. "I'm afraid I'm the wrong size for a hummingbird home." Dipper laughed. "Of course. Oh, I've been living in the poppy garden too long. I've forgotten not all the world is hummingbirds. That is why I moved to Thimbleberry Lane. Variety." "Shall I bring my paintings out here, then?" Dipper asked. "Pardon me?" said Nigel. "I thought you were painting your house." "Oh, no," answered Dipper. "I'll never get around to that. Too much trouble. I keep my houses small so there's less to tend." Nigel, who lived for tending, could not understand this at all. "Wait here," said Dipper. Nigel was about to say all right, but before he did, Dipper had zipped into his house and back out again with something in his beak. Nigel smiled. He was growing used to Dipper's flashy style. The hummingbird hovered next to a flat rock and began placing tiny squares on it. "My paintings," Dipper said proudly. Nigel peered at each little square. Never had he seen paintings so tiny, tiny as sunflower seeds. Right here on this rock. Look, it's in the beak. "Why, they are landscapes," he said in surprise. "Yes," answered Dipper. "I thought you would paint small things," said Nigel. "I live small, but I see big," answered Dipper. "Do you like them?" "They're extraordinary," said Nigel. "Then they are yours," said Dipper, flying left to right and back and forth above them. "I beg your pardon?" said Nigel. "I paint all the time," said Dipper. "I've never been one to sit by the fire. I have many paintings and more to come. These are yours if you like." I'm absolutely delighted, answered Nigel. You must return home with me. I'll fix supper for you, and you can give me advice on where to hang them. Certainly, said Dipper, and before Nigel could, of course, respond, the little hummingbird had gone inside and returned again, dressed for dinner. I hope you don't mind the paint on my nose, said Dipper. It doesn't wash well. Not at all, said Nigel. And together they returned to Nigel's dear blue cottage, where Nigel made a lovely meal of violet soup and rye bread and told Dipper all about life on Thimbleberry Lane. Afterward, they hung paintings throughout the house, and when Dipper had gone home in the evening, Nigel pulled a chair up to his favorite painting and taking out a magnifying glass, gazed at it all night long. Tomorrow, I'll read this chapter. No writing assignment. Remember, I would really like you to finish your writing or turn in your writing and to think I saw it on Highway 101. Have a great day.